Welcome to the Scott Prop and Roll Q&A. Thank you to everyone that sent questions in. Let's get started. Let's have some fun. First question, how did you get started? Well, it was 1989. I was going to college at the University of North Texas. There was a movie shooting in town. I always wanted to work in the movies, and I found out they were going to be filming at a hospital. I went to the hospital where they were filming, offered to pick up trash, do anything I could just to get some experience. And it started from there. So I worked as an intern / production assistant, unpaid intern. I wasn't even getting college credit. I just did it for the experience. And that's where I got a taste for the prop department. I started working with them. They were shorthanded. I worked a little bit with set decoration, a little bit with all departments, but I always tended to keep going back to props on other movies that I interned on. All right, next question. In Home Alone, when the grocery bags Kevin was carrying simultaneously rip at the bottom, how was that accomplished? Well, I didn't work on Home Alone, but I did a little research and I figured it out. I made a scaled down version, but it gets the point across. This is monofilament or fishing line. You barely have to move your fingers. Has anything ever gone wrong with a prop, either on set or in the making of it? Well, yes and yes. Pierce Brosnan was beating a guy with the rubber axe handle, and during the rehearsal it busted and started falling apart. Had a second one, the second one did the same thing. So we had to start gluing and taping, and it took a good couple hours to shoot the scene, and it was just falling apart. Luckily, final cut you don't really notice, but I was a little embarrassed. How do I make sure I never miss any of your videos? Like and subscribe and hit the notification button. How do you make prop food, and do the actors actually eat real food during each take? Yes, they are eating real food. We only use fake food if it's like a market scene where you see a ton of food dressed in and it's real hot outside. Like a farmer's market, you'll see fake fruit and vegetables, or in a fruit or salad bowl, decor in a kitchen. But if we have actors sitting at a dinner table eating, we'll give them real food. We just find out all their dietary requirements and get them what they want. And we have to have a lot of it. If I have one actor eating a banana, I've got to have 20 bananas, because they're opening it in the shot, they take a bite, next take, I got to have a brand new fresh banana. During food scenes, do they spit the food out after each take? Sometimes they do. We'll use a spit bucket, and that way they don't have their mouth full while they're trying to deliver dialogue. Sometimes we use it, sometimes they'll eat it. John says, I'm in my second year of film school with one more year to go. What advice would you give me for this career path? For starters, I'd say contact your local film commission to find out what kind of networking groups there are. It's all about who you know. So once you start going to events and parties, I would suggest volunteering at local film festivals, contacting local commercial production companies to get on their hire list. But the more people you know in the business, the more you're going to be in tune to what shows are coming into town and what you can put your name in the hat for early. I really suggest doing production assistant work, because you get a taste of all the different departments. If you're in a metropolitan city, you can find out what local prop masters are in town and get in good with them. Just, ask them for advice, ask to interview them for a class you're doing. That's the best way to really, you got to get your name out there. How did you discover / get your job? Well, I've had a lot of jobs. I started out, I interned on a few movies before I graduated. I also worked with a small production company, helping out as a production assistant, getting paid very little, but I got a lot of experience making karaoke music videos. They were all the rage in the early 90s. I worked on a movie called Necessary Roughness, where I met the prop master, and I got the job doing second unit props, which was all the football scenes. And I learned a lot doing that, and this was all before I graduated college. Throughout the 90s, I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. I did props quite a bit. I did camera department, locations. I even wrote and directed a feature film. What is the weirdest prop you've had to make? Well, I didn't actually make it. I hired someone to make it, but I needed a skinned dead buffalo. And we did it 100% artificial, and it looked great. I'm not going to show it to you right now because it's really gross. How big a part of the movie budget are props, and why, when would you consider CGI props instead of a real world prop? Well, it's all about safety and money. And a lot of times we'll still use props, but in combination with CGI, like we'll use a knife handle and the visual effects department will put in the knife blade when it's stabbing someone. It looks great and the actor stays safe. Have you ever appeared as an extra in a movie that you were working on? Yes, I was in, way back, Daddy's Dying, Who's Got the Will. I was two-stepping in the bar. I was a dead police officer's son in Walker in a photograph. I was also sleazy neighbor number 1. That was a speaking role in, or was it number 2? Anyway, in Friday Night Lights. I was also the pastor that married Billy and Mindy, and that was a speaking part too. And what's your go-to snack when you're working on set? Definitely salted caramel, chocolate. How do they do fake injections so well? They usually look real to me, but I'm sure they can't be. Well, we typically use retractable needles. I've done videos on them. I don't have one right here, but the needle goes up into the body of the syringe. What's your favorite dad joke? Well, this one isn't my all-time favorite, but it's my most recent favorite. My son told me he wanted to watch Spider-Man Far From Home. I told him I didn't really want to get out of the house. And I asked him, can we just stream it on the web? What's your net worth? I don't know. What's the most famous film set you've worked on? Maybe Pitch Perfect, Grindhouse Planet Terror, Machete. What shows have you worked on? Friday Night Lights, Walker, Texas Ranger, The New Walker, Parenthood. I did the pilot for Parenthood. Leftovers for HBO, American Crime, Generation Y, I think it was, no, My Generation. The Sun, Nosferatu. Have you made any fake teeth? For example, after someone gets punched and spits out a tooth. I haven't made them because I haven't needed to. You can go online and order Kilgore teeth, and they look like real teeth. They're molded off of real teeth, and I'll just put a little fake edible blood on them and put them in the actor's mouth, and they'll spit it out. How do you make organ props? Well, I'm assuming we're talking about your internal organs, so you would start with rope, like a nylon rope, and you cover it with latex, like a pinkish opaque latex, and then let it dry, then slather it with fake blood. Looks pretty good. We did that for Machete. What's the part of your job that's the least fun for you or the biggest pain in the butt? I would say food scenes that contain a lot of extras, a lot of background extras, and hero principal actors eating at the same time. Just trying to keep up with it all, keep it from spoiling, making sure the food looks fresh. That's probably the biggest pain in the butt. In films where the actors are required to receive or make a call, are the phones props or are they real? We typically use real phones. Sometimes if there's a lot of detailed stuff going on or something like video playing on the phone, we'll gray screen it or green screen it, and the post-production guys will go in and fix that. But as far as phone calls go, well, sometimes if the actor on the other end of the phone is not, on set that day, we'll have them call in, and that way the actor can, get a better performance because you're not talking to the director off camera, which happens sometimes when the other actor's not available, if that makes any sense. What kind of education or experience do you have? I've got a bachelor's degree in anthropology and a minor in ethnographic film, basically documentary film. And I've never worked a documentary. What was a commonly used prop that is now considered obsolete? I would say plywood people. We used to have, when we did a crowd scene for movies, such as in Necessary Roughness football movie, we would have big plywood people cutouts, and we'd staple shirts to them and take photographs of the crew. And look, there's me, and I'm there like 2 or 3 times. So after plywood people, there was a company called the Inflatable Crowd that had inflatable torsos that they used in the movie The Secretariat, I believe. And they would put hats on them, and they had masks that they would put on. They were just blow-up dolls, basically. And now they just use visual effects to drop in a crowd. They'll bring a bunch of extras in, sit them on a bench or in the stadium seat, film them, and they use those as elements to drop them into the stands. How much do you encounter your fans while you were out? I never have. How often do you visit Bucky's? Well, people are referring to the fact that I sometimes wear a Bucky'S hat. Bucky's, if you're not familiar with it, it's a gas station that has like 120 gas pumps. It's the size of a Walmart, and it's a gas station, and they have a lot of cool stuff. You just got to experience it. This is not a commercial for Bucky's. They've never paid me a penny, but I am a huge fan of Bucky's. I still never answered the question. I don't go to Bucky's much because it's like an hour outside of any major town. So when I'm traveling, or me and my family, it's kind of a family thing to stop at the Bucky's. I've gone way too on about Bucky's. Is there a prop you don't like? Yes, retractable knives. I'm always worried they're going to hurt somebody. Is there still a role for gunsmiths in the prop industry for converting guns to only blank firing? I believe there are. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of them to begin with. There's several in Los Angeles, independent studio services, hand prop room. There's several. And I don't think that blank firing weapons are going to go away totally. I think they'll be used less, at least for a while. Maybe they'll be phased out eventually, but for now, I think they'll still be using them. How do you go about thinking up your dad jokes for the videos? It depends. I'll typically start with a subject. I'll know I want to do a video on breakaway glass or silent props, and then I'll figure out a way to get a pun in there. Sometimes it'll come to me as I'm filming, or I'll already film it and I'll go back and I'll have thought about it a lot, and I'll go back and add a pun in there because it was just too good not to add. How many employees do you need to support prop work on a film? Typically, I'll be on set on a film along with an assistant prop master and 2 prop assistants, maybe if I'm lucky. Sometimes it's just a prop master and an assistant prop master if it's a smaller budget show. And then we'll bring day players on if we have days where there's like a couple hundred extras. Do you typically do a whole show or movie, or are you hired to do specific scenes only? I'm hired to do the whole show, just like the director, cinematographer. I go in, I have several weeks to prep a show. I do a breakdown of the script. I gather the props with my prop assistants and buyer, and we catalog them all. We bin them all up. We put them on the prop truck, and we are there throughout filming, and then we wrap the project. How do you see the future of cinema, CGI? Well, it's already changing as we speak. Because of the pandemic, there are a lot of new releases that are being streamed on Disney Plus, Netflix. A lot fewer that are going to the movie theaters first. It's just all changing. As far as CGI goes, we're already adapting to the fact that we'll use CGI if it can help make an actor safe. Or it's a prop that can't be physically built in real life, then it'll be handled CGI. But as far as weapons go, we use visual effects for blank gunfire, for muzzle flash, for shell ejection, putting blades in for somebody getting stabbed. We're already using them quite a bit, and on computers and cell phones. How do you see the future with virtual reality glasses? I did one virtual reality shoot, and you have to dress the scene 360 degrees. It's kind of crazy, but it was interesting. I'd never done that before. How do you make a prop look more realistic? I'd say age it. Just dirty it up, sand it down. We use this stuff. It's called a smear kit. This is just clean dirt, and it's got a little pounce bag, they call it. It's really dirty. You see? Do you ever keep props on display at your home after a production? No. I have this wonderful prop shop. This is kind of like my man cave, and this is where I keep all the props. It stays prop free at the Reader household. When an actor gets covered in paint, what is used? Definitely not oil-based, nothing oil-based for sure. go water-based. Typically, we'll use like a Methacil, even tempera paint, that sort of thing. Something that'll wash out easy. What's your favorite show you've worked on? Definitely Friday Night Lights, the TV series. I grew up with Texas football, and just living that every day was a lot of fun. And the cast was great. I enjoyed everything about it. How many hours a week do you average working in the prop industry? Probably about 60, about 12 hours a day. What type of person / personality would you recommend to work in the prop department? I would say someone who's easygoing, really good at arts and crafts, good at troubleshooting. You don't really have to have a specific degree. I would always recommend, if you don't go the film school route, to get a business degree, because so many of us have side hustles. You know, I've got my prop shop. I wish I'd had a little more business savvy when I got into it. But also I would recommend someone that won't get their feelings hurt too easily, because, you know, only 25% of what we make goes, you know, ends up on camera. So much of it ends up on the editing room floor, and you just can't get your feelings hurt by it. And you just got to give it 100%, because you don't know which 25% is going to end up on camera. Well, that's it for now. I thank you for joining me. I hope I did a proper job of answering your questions. And as the proprietor of the prop shop, thanks for being here. And please hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. And I will see you next time.